Welcome to Hard Script.
I need to breathe, she said. So I held the door open. It was 4 in the morning when she said it. I had just come off a 12-hour shift in the ER, blood still under my nails, adrenaline not fully drained. She was standing in the kitchen in leggings and a loose sweater, phone face down on the counter like it had something to hide. She said she felt trapped. Said the house felt heavy. Said she was suffocating. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I didn't remind her that I had spent the night restarting a hardened trauma too while she slept in clean sheets. I just nodded and stepped aside. Her suitcase was already packed. My name is Michael Carter, 39, emergency room physician at a county hospital outside Denver. I'm trained to read vitals without monitors, to spot danger before it speaks. That morning, I missed it. She said it was a weekend retreat. Breath work. Reset. Something her friends had been doing. Women from her firm. Smart, controlled women who spoke in careful sentences and drank green juice like it was medicine. Emily was a senior attorney at an insurance company. Risk assessment. Policy language. She built a career on reading fine print and avoiding exposure. When she said this retreat was safe, structured, professional, I believed her. She hugged me at the door. Her arms were loose. Not rushed. Not emotional. Like someone leaving for a yoga class, not stepping away from a marriage. She said she would be back Sunday night. The house stayed quiet after she left. No echo. No collapse. Just absence. I showered. Scrubbed my hands until the water ran cold. Then I sat at the kitchen table and watched the sun come up through the blinds she insisted we keep half closed. My phone buzzed once. A group text lit up the screen. Her friends. A picture of Emily in a car, sunglasses on, hair tied back. The caption said something about choosing yourself. I didn't respond. By Friday afternoon, she posted a story. Mountains. Incense. A circle of people on blankets. One man standing barefoot in the center, hand on his chest, eyes closed like he was listening to something the rest of US couldn't hear. She didn't tag him, but the camera lingered. That night, I cooked dinner for one and left the lights off. At 10, her location updated. Not the retreat address she'd mentioned. Somewhere else. Rural. Private. When she finally texted, it wasn't about missing me. It was a picture of the sky. I put my phone face down on the table, exactly where hers had been. In the ER, when something starts to fail quietly, you don't chase the noise. You watch the pattern. So I watched. She came back Sunday night smelling like eucalyptus and smoke. Her car pulled into the driveway just after 9. I was at the table, laptop closed, house quiet the way she liked it. She moved through the door like someone returning from a conference, not a separation. Hugged me once. Light contact. No pause. Her suitcase rolled across the floor. New dust on the wheels. She showered immediately. Long steam filled the bathroom and bled into the hall. I wiped the counter where her phone had been charging all weekend. A thin ring of dirt came off on the cloth. She slept hard. I didn't. By Monday morning, her routine had shifted. She woke early, sat on the floor of the spare room we used for storage, phone propped against a stack of boxes. Breathing exercises. Eyes closed. Head tilted like she was listening. I left for the hospital before she finished. At work, the rhythm took over. Chest pain. Overdose. A kid who fell off a bike and couldn't stop shaking. When you're inside that pace, personal noise fades. But every time I checked my phone, there were notifications. Not from her. From her friends. A group chat I wasn't in, but knew well. Weekend plans. Wine nights. Birthdays. Now it had a new tone. Photos of journals. Screenshots of quotes. Talk about holding space and honoring truth. By Tuesday, Emily stopped asking what time I'd be home. She started telling me when she wouldn't be. She said the retreat unlocked something. Said the man who ran it helped her see patterns. She called him a facilitator. A guide. She didn't use his name, but she followed his account. I didn't follow back. That night, she cooked. Something clean and quiet. No music. No questions. She ate half and put the rest away. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She didn't flip it over. I did. It was a message preview. A man's name. Just one line. Grounded breath before sleep. Proud of you. I set the phone back where it was. The next day, her friends came over without asking. 3 of them. All women I'd known for years. All smiling too much. They sat on the couch with their legs crossed the same way, cups in their hands like props. They didn't look at me when they talked. They talked to Emily about expansion. about safety, about how growth can scare partners who like control. No one said my name. When they left, Emily watched me like she was waiting for a reaction. For tension. For resistance. I rinsed the mugs. Dried them. Put them back. Later that night, she told me I was being distant. Said her friends thought I was shutting down. Said I should talk to someone. I nodded. Kissed her cheek. Turned off the light. In trauma, when a patient is bleeding internally, the skin can look fine. That's when you stop touching and start tracking. By the second week, the house started running without me. Not physically. Logistically. Emily moved her calendar off the fridge and onto her phone. Shared plans disappeared. Grocery lists stopped updating. She started eating before I got home, or later, after I went to bed. Food became fuel, not ritual. I adjusted without comment. At the hospital, I began picking up extra shifts. Overnight trauma blocks. Weekends. The kind of schedule that makes time blur and excuses unnecessary. When you're not around, you don't have to explain your absence. Her friends noticed before she did. They started texting me. Short messages. Concerned tone. Asking if everything was okay. Saying Emily seemed fragile. Saying growth can be lonely when partners pull away. I replied with neutral acknowledgments. Nothing defensive. Nothing emotional. I thanked them for checking in. Then I stopped responding. Emily didn't confront me. She adapted. Started leaving earlier. Coming back later. Her car smelled different. Not perfume. Something earthy. Oil and smoke again. One night, I came home and found the spare room cleared out. Boxes stacked neatly. A yoga mat laid flat. Candles spaced with intention. It wasn't aggressive. It was decisive. She didn't ask. That evening, she posted another story. A circle again. Same man. Closer this time. His hand resting on her shoulder. Her eyes closed. I didn't watch it twice. 2 days later, I found a receipt folded in her coat pocket while hanging it up. A cabin rental. 3 nights. Paid in advance. No location shared. At dinner, she mentioned another retreat. Same tone. Same words. She said she needed consistency. Integration. I nodded and cleared my plate. The shift happened quietly after that. I stopped initiating anything that required agreement. No weekend plans. No joint decisions. If something broke, I fixed it without discussion. If something needed replacing, I handled it. Receipts went into a drawer she no longer opened. She started testing the silence. Leaving pauses at the end of sentences. Watching me for reaction. Measuring resistance. I gave her none. Her friends escalated. One of them cornered me in our driveway one afternoon, voice low, eyes sharp. She said Emily felt emotionally unsafe. Said men like me struggled when women evolved. I listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't explain my job. Didn't mention that I watched people die for a living and still managed to speak softly. When she finished, I thanked her for her honesty and went inside. That night, Emily asked if I still loved her. I kissed her forehead and turned off the light. In medicine, when treatment stops working, you don't argue with the disease. You change your distance. And you wait. The third retreat wasn't framed as a break. It was framed as maintenance. Emily said this one was different. Smaller. More focused. She said the facilitator wanted continuity, not escape. She packed lighter this time. No hesitation. No goodbye ritual. She left on a Thursday afternoon while I was sleeping after a night shift. When I woke up, the house felt staged. Bed made tight. Lights off. A note on the counter written in careful handwriting, saying she would be back Sunday, and that space was healthy. I folded the note once and slid it into the same drawer as the receipts. At work, a man came in with chest pain that turned out to be anxiety. Tight breathing. Dizzy. Hands shaking. He kept saying he felt like he was losing control. I stabilized him and watched the numbers settle. Patterns repeat across different bodies. That evening, one of Emily's friends posted a photo from a cabin. Fire pit. Blankets. The same man standing near Emily, closer now. His hand wasn't on her shoulder this time. It was at her lower back. I didn't screenshot it. I muted the account. By Saturday, the call started. Not from Emily. From her friends again. Concerned again. One left a voicemail saying Emily was worried I was withdrawing. That emotional absence could be as damaging as aggression. I deleted the message. Sunday night came and went without her. At 10:30, she texted that the group had decided to extend. Something about breakthrough energy. She would be back Tuesday morning. I replied with a single acknowledgement. When she returned, she moved differently. Slower. more deliberate, like someone who had practiced being seen. She unpacked in silence, took a shower, lit a candle in the spare room, sat on the floor and breathed. I left for a run. Over the next few days, she began rearranging language. Our home became her container. Our marriage became a dynamic. Discomfort became resistance. She started speaking for me when her friends were around, interpreting my quiet as fear, my distance as control. I corrected nothing. One evening, she asked if I felt threatened by her growth. I poured a glass of water and drank it slowly. That night, I moved my personal documents into a backpack. License, passport, medical records. I didn't hide it. I didn't announce it. The following morning, I changed my schedule permanently. Fewer shared hours, more night coverage. By the end of the week, Emily stopped trying to provoke reaction. She shifted tactics. She went quiet too. When a system loses leverage, it stops pushing and starts watching. That's when it becomes dangerous. So I prepared. The silence didn't last long. Emily's friends shifted from concern to coordination. They stopped calling me and started meeting without me. Brunches turned into planning sessions. I could feel it in the house afterward. The way Emily came home charged, not relaxed. The way she repeated phrases that weren't hers. One night, she said the facilitator thought couples sometimes needed conscious uncoupling. She said it calmly, like she was discussing a lease renewal. She said space could be permanent if resistance stayed present. I rinsed my plate and put it in the rack. The next morning, I noticed small changes. Our shared streaming accounts logged out on my devices. The grocery delivery app no longer showed my name. The emergency contact on her phone wasn't me anymore. I didn't mention it. At the hospital, I treated a woman who kept apologizing for taking up space. Broken wrist, bruised ribs. She kept saying it was her fault for needing too much. I stabilized her and wrote careful notes. Documentation matters. That evening, I came home to voices. Emily and two of her friends in the living room. Low volume. Serious tone. When I walked in, they went quiet. One of them smiled too quickly and said they were worried about Emily's safety. Emotional safety. They said my withdrawal felt punitive. I listened from the doorway. Emily didn't look at me. After they left, she said they were trying to help. Said I was making people uncomfortable by refusing to engage. Said relationships needed active participation. I nodded and went to bed early. The following weekend, she didn't come home at all. No explanation. No update. Just absence. I checked her location once. Not the cabin. Not the city. Somewhere private again. On Sunday afternoon, one of her friends posted a photo. Group circle. Same man. Emily's head resting against his chest this time. His eyes open, looking straight at the camera. I muted the rest. That night, I packed quietly. Not clothes. Infrastructure. I separated finances. Updated my beneficiaries. Redirected my mail to a private box. I did it between shifts, methodically. On Tuesday, Emily came home late and found the guest room empty. No mat. No candles. No space left to claim. She asked where everything went. I told her it was in storage. She said that felt aggressive. I said nothing. 2 days later, she told me she needed clarity. That maybe time apart would help her decide what she wanted. I held the door open. She didn't cry when she left. Her friend said I overreacted. By the end of the week, they wouldn't meet my eyes. Because systems that rely on pressure fail when the target stops pushing back. And I had stopped completely. The house didn't change when Emily left. That was the part people never expect. No shattered objects. No empty closets. No dramatic quiet. The lights still worked. The fridge still hummed. The routine held. I kept my schedule tight. Night shifts. Early mornings. Predictable exits and returns. When you remove variables, systems reveal their weak points. Emily's absence created noise elsewhere. Her friends started circling. Texts first. Then calls. Then surprise drop-ins I didn't answer. They framed concern as urgency. They said Emily was confused. That she was hurt by my lack of fight. That silence could be cruel. I acknowledged nothing. At work, a man came in after collapsing at a gym. Perfect vitals on paper. Nothing obvious. But his breathing was wrong. Too shallow. Too controlled. He was trying not to panic. I sat him upright and waited with him until the numbers caught up to reality. Pressure doesn't always look violent. 3 weeks after Emily left, I received a message from her. Not about coming home. About logistics. She needed access to the joint account. She needed some documents. She needed clarity. I sent her copies. Not originals. Clean. Timely. Her friends didn't like that. One of them cornered me outside the hospital garage one evening. She said Emily felt erased. That my calm was manipulative. That walking away without explanation was emotional abandonment. I listened. Let her finish. Then I told her Emily had my number. She didn't respond well. 2 days later, Emily showed up at the house unannounced. Different clothes. Different posture. She stood in the doorway like a visitor waiting to be invited back into a role. She walked through the rooms slowly. Noticed what was gone. Not furniture. Evidence. Shared artifacts. Photographs. Files. The things that anchor narratives. She asked if I was seeing someone. I shook my head. She said her friends were worried about me. Said they thought I was repressing something. I poured her a glass of water and set it on the counter. She didn't drink it. Before she left, she said the facilitator thought distance was triggering my control issues. She said healing sometimes required confrontation. I held the door. That night, I received a message request from the facilitator himself. Just a greeting. Neutral. Curious. I didn't open it. The next morning, I closed the joint account. By the end of the week, Emily's friends stopped reaching out. Not because they understood. Because control through consensus fails when the subject exits the room. And I had left long before they noticed. Silence has a way of attracting noise. Once Emily realized I wasn't chasing clarity, she started producing it herself. Long messages. Carefully worded. She talked about confusion. About needing time. About how my withdrawal made her question everything. I read them once. Then archived them. At the hospital, I was assigned to triage for a full week. High volume. No margin. People come in loud there. Panic first, facts later. My job was to filter signal from chaos. Outside work, the pressure shifted again. Emily's friends stopped calling and started posting. Quotes about masculine fragility. About men who punish women for outgrowing them. Nothing explicit. Nothing actionable. Just enough to create a frame. Mutual acquaintances began asking questions without asking questions. Invitations stopped. The narrative moved without me. That's when the facilitator tried again. This time it wasn't a message request. It was an email forwarded by Emily. Polite. Professional. He framed himself as a neutral party. Said he specialized in helping couples navigate transitions. Said silence could be a defense mechanism. I didn't reply. 2 days later, Emily came by to pick up the last of her things. She brought one friend with her. The same one who used words like safety and space. They walked through the house slowly. Taking inventory. Emily kept glancing at me like she expected resistance. Emotion. Something to work with. I signed the release form she brought. Passed it back without comment. Her friend said I was making a mistake. Said relationships require engagement. I nodded and held the door. That night, I slept for 8 uninterrupted hours for the first time in months. The following week, I moved apartments. Same city. Different building. No shared walls. No shared history. I updated my address with work and nothing else. Emily found out through someone else. Her reaction came fast. A voicemail this time. Unsteady. She said I was disappearing. That I was rewriting the past by refusing to talk about it. I deleted the message. Then the tone changed. Her friends stopped posting. Invitations reappeared, tentative. One of them ran into me at a coffee shop and looked away. Another crossed the street. Emily sent one final message asking if we could meet. Just to talk. Just to breathe. I didn't respond. In emergency medicine, when a patient stabilizes, you don't keep pushing interventions. You step back. You monitor. And you let the system adjust to the absence of force. That's when you see what was holding it together. And what wasn't. The first real crack showed up outside of me. I heard about it through a nurse who lived in Emily's building. Not gossip. Just an observation. She mentioned seeing Emily in the lobby late at night. Pacing, phone in hand, talking fast. The calm posture was gone. The practiced breathing too. I didn't ask questions. At work, a multi-car accident came in just before dawn. Metal, glass, confusion. One patient kept insisting he was fine while his blood pressure dropped. He wanted control more than care. We took it from him anyway. Control always leaves last. A week later, Emily sent another message. Shorter this time. No language about growth. No references to space. She asked if I'd be willing to talk without intermediaries. No friends. No facilitator. I archived it. That was when the facilitator disappeared. His account went private. His website went offline for maintenance. One of Emily's friends quietly deleted photos from the retreats. Another unfollowed him altogether. Whatever structure had been holding them together had collapsed inward. Emily showed up at the apartment building once. I wasn't home. She left nothing. No note. No message. Just presence, then absence again. Her friends started avoiding me completely. Not hostility. Not judgment. Discomfort. They couldn't reconcile the story they'd been telling with the lack of reaction they'd received. Without resistance, the narrative had nowhere to land. At the hospital, I ran into a man who reminded me of Emily's facilitator. Same tone. Same controlled empathy. He was brought in by his partner for panic symptoms. His voice stayed steady while his body shook. The body always tells the truth first. By the end of the month, Emily's messages stopped. Not because she found peace. Because there was no longer an audience. I finalized the paperwork quietly. Separation filed. Assets already divided. No negotiations. No leverage left to apply. One afternoon, I ran into one of her friends at the grocery store. She reached for the same item and froze when she saw me. Her eyes dropped. Her face flushed. She didn't say a word. Neither did I. That night, I cooked dinner and ate it standing up by the counter. Simple. Enough. When you remove yourself from a system built on influence, it doesn't explode. It implodes. And then it goes quiet. That's when you know it's over. The paperwork finalized without friction. No mediation. No extended emails. No last-minute appeals. The signatures went through like a routine discharge. Stable. Cleared. Released. Emily didn't contest anything. That detail mattered. At work, I trained a new resident who kept apologizing for asking questions. He was competent, careful, afraid of being seen as weak. I told him nothing. Just adjusted his position so he could see the monitor clearly. People don't need reassurance. They need orientation. Outside the hospital, my life narrowed in a way that felt intentional. Fewer objects. Fewer obligations. I learned which routines were mine and which had been negotiated for years without my noticing. Emily reached out once more after the filing. Not directly. Through an email forwarded by her attorney. A request to talk. No urgency. No framing. Just a window. I didn't respond. A week later, I saw her across a parking lot near the courthouse. Different hair. Different posture again. Less practiced. She looked smaller without her audience. She saw me too. She hesitated, like she was deciding whether to approach. Her phone stayed in her hand, but she didn't look at it. No one else was around. I gave her a nod and kept walking. That night, I slept deeply. No dreams I could remember. The facilitator resurfaced briefly in conversation at work. Someone mentioned a workshop that had been canceled. Refunds delayed. Complaints filed quietly. No scandal. Just erosion. Influence depends on momentum. Once it stalls, it disappears. Emily's friends scattered. Some rebranded. Some moved on. One of them transferred firms. Another stopped posting entirely. No one reached out to explain. They didn't need to. The narrative they'd built required resistance to sustain it. Without that, it collapsed under its own weight. One evening, I found the note Emily had left months earlier while cleaning out the last drawer. The one about space being healthy. I unfolded it once, then recycled it. At the hospital, I watched a patient stabilize after hours of careful management. No heroics, just consistency. The numbers leveled. The breathing slowed. That's how things end when they end correctly. Not with a surge. With equilibrium. I started running again. Early mornings. Empty streets. No music. Just breath and pace. When people ask now, I say the marriage ended quietly. That's not the whole truth. It didn't end quietly. It ended when the noise stopped working. The last message came months later. Not from Emily. From one of her friends. A short email. No subject line. No greeting. She said she hoped I was well. Said she wanted to apologize if things had been misunderstood. Said everyone had been trying to support Emily during a difficult transition. I didn't reply. At the hospital, a young man came in after a minor crash. No injuries worth noting. He kept talking anyway, filling the space, trying to control the room with words. I let him talk until he ran out of air, then discharged him. Noise burns itself out when it isn't fed. My life settled into something clean. Predictable shifts. Quiet mornings. A kitchen that stayed organized because no one rearranged it to prove a point. I stopped checking social media entirely. Nothing there required my attention. Emily never reached out again. I heard through someone else that she moved cities. took a leave from work, that she was still doing the work, still looking for clarity, still surrounding herself with people who spoke the same language she'd learned to repeat. None of that touched me. One afternoon, I ran into the facilitator's name on a notice board at the hospital. A wellness seminar canceled. No explanation. Just a blank space where authority used to be. Later that day, I passed Emily's old building on the way home. Her window was dark. I didn't slow down. The divorce finalized quietly. No hearing. No final meeting. Just confirmation in an inbox I cleared without ceremony. People expect endings to announce themselves, to justify their existence with emotion, with explanations. This one didn't. It closed like a door that no longer needed to be held. Sometimes, when I'm asked why it ended, I tell the truth in the simplest terms. She said she needed to breathe. So I stepped aside. Her friend said I overreacted. Now, when I see them by chance, they look through me like I'm part of the wall. Because the only power they ever had was agreement. And when I stopped participating, it disappeared. In the ER, we call it stabilization. The moment when nothing dramatic is happening anymore, but everything that mattered has already changed. That's where I live now. No explanations. No negotiations. Just space. And silence. The kind that finally belongs to me. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.